In the city of Agra there lived a scribe. You know what a scribe is, right? Because there were very high illiteracy levels in Hindustan in that time. And what a shame that not much has changed. And the scribe's job really was to read and write for people who couldn't read and write. So if you wanted to send a letter to somebody, he was your alternative to email. You would go to him and dictate the letter, he would write it down and he would send it for you. And if someone sent a letter to you, you'd take it to him and read it for you. So he was email, internet, DVD player all in one. Valuable commodity. One of the most popular and honest men in the whole of the city of Agra. And he was also very, very careful with money. There was a song once by Van Halen, Sammy Hagar sang it. One of the lines was, "I never met a man who didn't owe somebody something." Well, he didn't meet this scribe. This scribe, he didn't owe money to anybody. He's one of the only people in Agra who didn't owe money to the city moneylender. Very rich fat fellow. In fact, his worst nightmare was to have a visit from the moneylender asking about a debt. He had no debt. He wanted to die without ever having had a debt. But he was a little bit paranoid about this particular fear, and it was quite often that he would wake up in the middle of the night having night terrors and nightmares about the moneylender knocking on his door. And his wife had to suffer through this every night. And one night he had a terrible nightmare and he woke up screaming and sweating, and his wife said, "What's wrong, husband?" And he said, "I had the most terrible nightmare." He said, "I dreamt that I borrowed 100 pieces of gold from the moneylender, 100 gold coins." And the wife started to laugh and said, "How could you ever borrow 100 gold coins from the moneylender? You wouldn't even borrow one." And he said, "Yes, I just have so many fears about debt and owing people money." Anyway, he got up and he had his breakfast and he went off to his work that day as a scribe. And while he was out, his wife went up to the local well to get some water. And she met with other wives, and you know what they do. A couple of hours, no water gets drawn, but a lot of talking gets done. And while they were talking, the wife said, "Oh, you know what happened last night? My husband woke up in the middle of the night, had a really terrible dream. He dreamt that he borrowed 100 gold coins from the moneylender," and the women all laughed. Is your husband pagal or what? He said, they said, "How could your husband ever borrow so much money from the moneylender? He wouldn't even borrow one gold coin, let alone 100. And they laughed and chatted about just about everything else they could think of, and then went back to their homes. And that night over dinner, they sat with their husbands and they told them the story. And that night, the whole city of Agra was laughing at the story of the scribe who dreamt that he borrowed 100 gold coins from the moneylender, because everyone knew his reputation as a person who never borrowed money. Just so happened, the next day, about lunchtime, the moneylender heard the story. And he said, "Oh, I wish someone would borrow 100 gold coins from me. I'd have fun collecting that back." He started to scratch his head and he got it into his head to go around to the house of the scribe. The scribe was sitting down to dinner on sunset. He said, "I wonder who that could be at this time of night. Somebody's got a very important letter, no doubt." And he opened the door. The moneylender! And he nearly fainted on the spot at the sight of the man. He said, "Hello, scribe. I've come to ask you about the money." He said, "What money?" He said, "The 100 gold coins that you borrowed." He said, "The 100 gold coins, it was a dream. It was a dream. I didn't really borrow it from you." He said, "A loan is a loan." and I'll be coming around every day to collect 8 gold pieces from you until the debt is repaid. 8 gold pieces a day, scribe. That was more money than the scribe made in a month, let alone a day. And his wife sat down with him at the table, and their faces went ashen white. And she said, "What are we going to do, husband? Where are we ever going to get 100 gold coins to pay back the money? He can't possibly expect us to pay back money that was borrowed in a dream, can he?" And he said, "Well," he said, "a loan is a loan. The moneylender didn't get rich by forgiving people's debts, you know." And so the wife said, "Look, tomorrow, why don't we go around to the palace and see the emperor? In fact, he's got an advisor who sits next to him. His name is Raj Birbal, and he's supposed to be pretty clever. He might be able to sort this one out." So the next day they went to the palace. They went through the sentry, new sentry. And they were shown into the Duana arm. They told the emperor the problem and said, "We were wondering if Raj Birbal could help us." And the emperor turned to Raj Birbal, "What do you think? Can you do anything for these people?" He said, "Absolutely I can, no problem. Tell them," in fact he told them himself, "go and get the money lender, bring him round to my apartment in 1 hour, and tell him the debt is about to be paid." And the couple said, no, we don't want you to pay for us. We want you to talk some sense into this man. He's trying to get money from us that was borrowed in a dream. And he said, "Do as I say. Tell the money lender to come around to my apartment in 1 hour and the debt will be paid." An hour later, the money lender and the scribe and his wife came up the stairs to Raj Birbal's apartment. Raj Birbal opened the door majestically and said, "Ah, moneylender, won't you please come in?" He said, "I suppose you've come about the 100 gold pieces that you're owed." He said, "Yes, absolutely," rubbing his hands together. And Raj Birbal motioned over to a little table at the side of his apartment. Now on the table he had a mirror, and in front of the mirror he had a pile of gold. And he said, "You see those gold coins there?" He said, "Yes, I do." He said, "Right, all the ones on the table are mine, but all the ones in the mirror are yours to pay for the dream loan." The moneylender left Raj Birbal's apartment in a hurry, slammed the door behind him.